I recently saw in the store this toy line of knockoff ponies. Toy ponies that resemble in shape, coloring, even right down to the cutie mark, the packaging, the placement on the shelves, everything else. They look almost exactly like My Little Pony, and they exist to fool parents who don't know what My Little Pony is into thinking that this is My Little Pony and buying it for their kids. Or maybe seeing that the price on these knockoff ponies is a little cheaper, and their kids will be just as happy with the knockoffs as they would be with the more expensive originals. And this made me think of something is, throughout the history of television, and who knows how far back, we have had a lot of shows that have had knockoffs of their product. For every Pokemon there's a Digimon. For every Star Wars there's a Battlestar Galactica. For every Yu-Gi-Oh there's a Duel Monsters. Or was it Duel Masters? Whatever. For every Ninja Turtles there's a Battletoads. And the list goes on. Now, sometimes a knockoff show, like comparing Digimon and Pokemon only for the reason that they have the word Mon in the title, can be pretty good. Digimon was a lot of fun once you get into it. For other shows, like comparing Yu-Gi-Oh to any other anime where the characters also battle with playing cards, the knockoff shows could be kind of lame and stupid. This is also the case with like a lot of your Disney movies. When Disney makes a Snow White and some company from Brazil makes a Snow White, the Disney version is the better version. By no means the definitive and only version, but often the one that we remember and like better. Certainly the one that has the more effort put into its animation and storytelling. Even though anyone else can do the Snow White idea, we always think Disney. But the one thing I noticed with this knockoff pony line is it has not had its own TV series. And yeah, you can say that My Little Pony has used Equestria Girls to knock off Monsters High and Moxie Girl and Bratz and half a dozen other dolls. But we're not here to accuse, we're here to ponder one question is, right now My Little Pony does not have a competing pony animated series to draw audiences away from My Little Pony and use the pony popularity to turn them on to another series. Here's the question. If there was another animated series about magical ponies living in a mythical land having both slice of life and magical adventure type adventures, would you bronies watch it because it's very similar to something that you already love and enjoy and it will get you into it? Or would you shun it because it's a clear ripoff of your favorite series and you want nothing to do with the imitator trying to take away from the original? It could go either way, and what it comes down to is things such as writing, animation style, presentation, other things of that nature. There was a time when I was a kid where I would refuse to watch Star Trek or Battlestar Galactica or Spaceballs, because I was a Star Wars fan and I loved Star Wars, and I wanted absolutely nothing to do with Babylon 5 or any of the other sci-fi shows that were too similar to Star Wars, and I felt like these other shows were ripping Star Wars off and doing it some kind of insult to watch these other shows. But then as I got older, I was able to get into and appreciate other sci-fi series. And that's the moral of today's topic. But this topic also comes with a warning. And that is oftenly when people try to imitate success, they often will take the images associated with that other series and some of the keywords, and they will put out a product that has absolutely no effort whatsoever. The voice acting will be horrible, the characters will be horrible, the animation will be horrible, the writing will be horrible. Every single thing about this imitator will simply not work, and it will not be a good imitation. This is what you see in comparing Food Fight to Toy Story. This is what you see in comparing other live-action cartoon mixture movies to Who Framed Roger Rabbit. When you compare Street Sharks and Samurai Pizza Cats to Ninja Turtles. This is what you see when you compare Power Rangers with VR Troopers and Beetleborgs and all of those other superhero Sentai Japanese TV shows. Another example would be Transformers and GoBots. I had GoBots when I was a kid and I loved having them. When Transformers came around, I was able to get into it, but I didn't enjoy the toys as much as the GoBots because they were more complicated to transform back and forth through their different shapes. GoBots were a lot more simplified, even though they could be considered the knockoff. I tended to like GoBots a little bit better. Also, another thought to add to this discussion is that low budget and bad special effects does not necessarily make a bad show. Some products like Doctor Who have been immensely popular despite a lot of the stuff on the show looking clearly fake. You know, a lot of times it is very possible for the imitator of the popular thing to be bad, but it's just as possible for the imitation to be good. So if an imitation of My Little Pony becomes a series, give it a chance, but also be prepared for disappointment. But don't shut it out of your life immediately just because it's the imitator. But what I want to hear from you in the comments is, would you give the imitation a chance, or would you turn it away without considering its potential? What would the commercials and the box art and the everything else about it have to present to you before you would give it a try? How many reviews would you have to watch of it before you would check it out? What price would it have to be for you to buy it? What hour would it have to be on TV for you to give it a chance? Or would you just continue to ignore it and say, This is a thing I do not need in my life. And while we're at it, how do you feel about things like Jackie Chan versus Shaolin Showdown, or any of those other shows like the Junior Poli versus Jake Long and so forth, Dexter's Lab versus Jimmy Neutron versus Johnny Quest? How do you feel about all of the other shows that have come out and had imitation shows come out at the same time? Let me know in the comments section below. Thank you for watching, and good night.